Shohei Ohtani is arguably the hottest superstar in baseball right now. I think he and Fernando Tatis from San Diego, the Padres, hungry for more. I think Fernando Tatis and Shohei Ohtani are arguably the biggest superstars in the game. With Mike Trout hurt, Bryce Harper being very quiet, I think that Shohei Ohtani has really taken over the top spot. The pitching, the hitting, now being able to lead off and be the starting pitcher in the All-Star game, it really elevates him to a different level. But Shohei Ohtani is, he's a Japanese player, and he's a guy that isn't comfortable speaking English. Now, to dispel the rumors, yes, Shohei Ohtani actually does speak English. He does not want to miscommunicate. He does not want to say something and have that be taken out of context because his English is not his first language. So he uses an interpreter. Apparently, for Stephen A. Smith, that's a deal breaker when we talk about the face of baseball.
So when I'm looking at it from this perspective. In the United States of America, when you talk about the sport of Major League Baseball, you talk about its lack of diversity in terms of African-American players. You talk about the influx of foreign players, whether they be from Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Japan, or anywhere else. If you are a star and you need an interpreter, that might have something to do, not everything, because there's a lot of things that go into it, but that might have something to do with your inability to ingratiate yourself with that young demographic to attract them to the sport.
Oh, man, there's so much wrong with this. That's Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. I don't even know where to begin with this. Frankly, it's shocking that Stephen A. Smith, and whether you like him or hate him, my interactions with Stephen A. Smith as a producer, as a host, he is a wildly intelligent human being. Stephen A. Smith is very smart. He is very sharp. He is well-read. He's an excellent writer. This is a shocking mistake for Stephen A. Smith. And the question is it a mistake or is it an ideology? Because what he did here was unbelievably racist. It was unbelievably biased. And if you listen to his words, he starts this conversation with "in this country." And then goes on to say, without saying it directly, that because he is Shohei Ohtani's Asian and he doesn't speak English, well, he can't be the face of baseball. And my question is, what do you say to a guy like Jackie Robinson, who couldn't play Major League Baseball because of the color of his skin? He was black. And the mighty, powerful white folks didn't want a black guy getting into baseball. What do you say to guys like Roberto Clemente, who had to overcome being a Latin player and being, a dark-skinned player? What do you say to guys like Hank Aaron, who, because he was black, had death threats and was told that he was going to be murdered if he took, the home run record? What do you say? What do you say to that? When you're Stephen A. Smith and Stephen A. is a very proud black man, as he should be. How do you make this mistake? How do you, in a time where, people of Asian descent in this country are absolutely being targeted, they're absolutely being physically assaulted in the streets of this country, they're being blamed for, look, you're Asian, you started the coronavirus. How do you listen to our president call it the Kung flu and then think it's okay to say that because Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak English, that he can't be the face of baseball? How do you justify that on a network like ESPN that has had so much turmoil and tumult, even in recent times with this Rachel Nichols situation? How do you justify saying that? And I feel like this is incredibly, incredibly foolish from Stephen A. Smith. And Jake's going to play this apology here. Then to apologize and to say these things while apologizing.
People are misinterpreting what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the state of the game. baseball itself. Baseball's a great game, a great sport. And some of the greatest players in the world are foreign players. Tatis comes to my mind. I love this brother and what he brings to the table. And Ohtani is the second coming of Babe Ruth, okay? That's not what I was trying to say. I'm talking about the marketability and the promotion of the sport is exactly what Sports Illustrated essentially alluded to in their article last month when they talked about 28% of the players in Major League Baseball are foreign players. A lot of them need translators. You know, Spanish, it could be Mandarin, Japanese, the list goes on and on and on. If you are a sport trying to ingratiate yourself with the American public the way Major League Baseball is, because of the problems that you've been having to deal with in terms of improving the attractiveness of the sport, it helps that if you spoke the English language. It doesn't mean anything more than that.
It doesn't?
Oh, man. Okay, so A, people are misinterpreting you. B, well, Sports Illustrated said the same thing. And people, are not listening to what I said. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how this isn't racist in that it's anti-Asian. I don't know how this isn't biased in that Shohei Ohtani is an Asian player of Asian descent who does not speak comfortable English, even though, by the way, he speaks really good English. He just isn't comfortable doing it in front of the media. What does his use of an interpreter have to do with anything?
Yeah, I think, my issue here is that, and we can play it again if you want, but like in Stephen A. Smith's initial comments, you can see that he's couching it. Like you can see that he initially starts off his comments with the game isn't diverse, but then he goes into, we've got, all kinds of players from all around the world. So is it diverse or is it not diverse? What are we talking about here?
And clearly the game is diverse. I mean,
it is very much diverse.
The prominence of the Latin player in Major League Baseball, and I think the first time it really, really became crystal clear to me was being in the clubhouse with the St. Louis Cardinals in, I guess that was the spring of '06, right before they won their championship that year. And you just saw the dominance of Pujols and Molina, and the dominance of the Latin player in baseball has been a revolution. And frankly, it's been a great revolution. The prominence and the rise of the Asian player in baseball, and I mean, it's not just guys like Ichiro. It's the Fukudomes of the world. I mean, if you look at this shouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah.
You are biased against Shohei Ohtani based on what you said, and I do want to play the original clip again. I believe what Stephen A. Smith is saying here, he is biased against Shohei Ohtani because Shohei Ohtani's Asian. And to me, that is the definition of being racist. So here again is what Stephen A. Smith said on ESPN.
So when I'm looking at it from this perspective. In the United States of America, when you talk about the sport of Major League Baseball, you talk about its lack of diversity in terms of African American players. You talk about the influx of foreign players, whether they be from Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Japan, or anywhere else. If you are a star and you need an interpreter, that might have something to do, not everything, because there's a lot of things that go into it, but that might have something to do with your inability to ingratiate yourself with that young demographic to attract them to the sport.
Man, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN.
So wait, is it diverse or is it not diverse? Because that's what I get hung up on. And this kind of speaks to, with all due respect to Stephen A. and the career he's built and everything he's done, he's not a baseball guy. I think we can all agree on that Stephen A. Smith is not somebody. Stephen A. Smith is not, Jeff Passan or any of these guys that cover the game every day. I look at him
as a basketball and boxing guy.
Yeah.
That's who I look at Stephen A. Smith as. And, to hear him talk about the lack of diversity and, the declining numbers of African-American black players in Major League Baseball, I really think that's the heart of what this is. I think Stephen A. Smith feels like there is a lack of opportunity for black players in Major League Baseball because you have more Latin players, because you have more Japanese players, Shohei Ohtani. But the thing that I think people forget is there's a lot more that goes into it than white owners in baseball saying, well, we don't want as many black players. Let's go find, Japanese players. what's happened? There are many reasons why young black children in this country don't play baseball.
Yeah.
Because the payday's not as quick, right? Like, I mean, the sport is not marketed well, in my opinion. I look at the NBA. The NBA culture is on the streets. It's shoes. It's clothing. It's rap and hip hop. Damian Lillard, he's from the inner city. Damian Lillard's a guy that, achieved, got to the NBA, makes tens of millions of dollars. If you look at these guys in the NFL, they're on TV playing college football every Saturday. And what were we just talking about? The fact that guys want to be a Laker because they're on TV all the time.
Yes.
Think about a young black kid that's in the inner city, right? And I'll even point to BYU because I think Jamal Williams is the perfect example of this. Jamal Williams, the running back, I think for the Detroit Lions, Packers, BYU. He's from the Inland Empire in Southern California. And he's a guy that had off-field issues. He had a difficult upbringing. His mom essentially sent him to BYU. He went to BYU because BYU's got an ESPN deal. His mom, who is back in Southern California, can watch every BYU football game because they're on ESPN.
Yep.
Right? Like, if you think about that, I want to be on TV so my mom can watch me achieve at the highest level. College baseball is rarely on TV, and when it is, you're not watching it.
Yeah.
But is college basketball on TV? It is. Can I, as a 16-year-old, make millions of dollars playing pro basketball? Either in this country now, there's the elite leagues and the G League, and can I go and do what LaMelo Ball did? Look at LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball went to Lithuania, Australia, number 2 in the draft, rookie of the year, shoe deal, multi-millionaire now. What's more appealing? Probably 5 years of minor league baseball after probably 2 years of college baseball. And then you're not even sure because of the vast numbers. The competition is much higher and much more difficult in college baseball and in minor league baseball.
Yep.
Or am I going to go to the college football route or the college basketball route where there are mixtapes and social media and Instagram and Ball is Life and Chris Brickley who will work with me, put me on social media, make me a star like Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson was the first overall pick in the draft and a multi-millionaire when he was 14, 15 years old. That was done already. I mean, this is not about young black children not having the opportunity to play baseball.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. Do you understand that in the Pacific Rim, whether that's Japan, China,
Korea,
all of the Asian countries, do you understand Korea? Do you understand that baseball and basketball are massive sports there? Massive sports. Do they play football there? No, they don't. Do they play rugby there? They don't. They play baseball and they play basketball. And guys like Yao Ming, guys like Stephen Marbury, guys like Jimmer Fredette, why do you think all those guys are multimillionaires right now? Steph Curry. Why do you think those guys are multimillionaires? Why do you think Jordan Clarkson is huge? Because he's multicultural.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Shohei Ohtani, A, being Asian, and B, being the face of baseball.
And that's why I say, I think, it's funny we've been having this conversation a little more about First Take, but, First Take, it's no secret what First Take is designed to do. I mean, First Take is a show that's literally designed to keep ESPN in the news cycle every single day. That is their sole focus, right? But
I agree with that.
I think as ESPN, you obviously are walking a fine line because you want to bring the hot take, you want to be in the news, but you also don't want to be racist, obviously. So, Stephen A. Has built a career on being hot take guy. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm not saying he's a fraud, certainly. He's legit, but there is a line, and you cannot say that an Asian baseball player is not marketable to young fans and everything because he needs an interpreter. That's just not the case. I mean, frankly, when's the last time you saw Mike Trout throwing 100 miles an hour off the mound? That didn't happen.
And then hitting a 500-foot bomb.
That didn't happen, right?
And the other thing here that I think we have to talk about, and I know this is probably difficult and it's going to piss some people off, but at some point, we have to understand that just because you're not white, English speaking, and American, that doesn't mean that you can't achieve at high levels, right? I mean, we have to find a way in this country to stop being white is right. At some point in this country, we have to stop trying to look at what, and this is probably a step too far, but look at what the Texas Democrats are doing right now. They don't support anti-voting laws in Texas. The governor of Texas said, if you do not show up to vote, we're going to arrest you. So they got on a plane and flew to Washington, D.C. to lobby national congressmen that are Democrats, Congress people, because they're tired of the anti-voting laws in this country, because we don't want minorities to vote. We're working very hard in many states in this country to stop black people from voting, right? We've got to get to a point where all we care about is, are you white, are you American, and do you speak English? And I just think that those three things shouldn't be the definition of wealth, success, and the ability to make money in this country.
Well, and the crazy thing is like, even with those being the expectations and what people or like what, some people in our country want, guys like Ohtani are succeeding. I mean, he is succeeding at the highest level of baseball. He's dominating Major League Baseball, the best league in the world.
Because talent always overcomes.
Yeah, I mean,
if you can throw and hit a baseball, you're going to get found.
Yes.
You're going to get found. And if you can run, a 4.2 40 and put 225 up 12 times, you're going to play in the NFL. You are. Right? If you can achieve athletically, unless you're black, you have an afro and you wear, socks and you talk about how negative the police are, you're going to play in the NFL. Right? I mean, it's amazing to me. And again, I don't mean to go too far here, but this is what happens when you allow somebody like Donald Trump to run away with your country. This is how Marjorie Taylor Greene winds up in Congress. This is how we get guys like Alex Jones. This is why we have, people that still believe today that the election was rigged. This is why when we're talking about vaccinations, this is why we have states that voted for Donald Trump. Look at Nashville. Look at what's going on in the city of Nashville, in the great state of Tennessee. Huge controversy. They fired their vaccination czar and cut off access to all children for all vaccines, not the coronavirus vaccine, for all vaccines. Because that's what Republicans do now. That was done on party lines in Tennessee. We don't take vaccines that are clearly saving lives because that's not what the Republicans want to do. So in Democrat states where Biden was voted for and elected, guess what? We have really high vaccination rates and really low infection rates. Like, that's who we are as a country. So Stephen A. Smith on ESPN essentially saying, hey, Shohei Ohtani can't be the face of baseball because he doesn't speak English and he's not American. And then immediately pivoting to, where's Mike Trout? Where's Bryce Harper? It's ridiculous to me. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. All right, let's get some of the comments in here. It is, yes, Eric and Raleigh says, Jesus, the clarification made it worse. It did. Swipe a Cam, good morning to you, says, what he did was biased and prejudiced, even nationalist, but not racist. Oh, I absolutely think what Stephen A. Smith said was racist. There's no doubt about it. I'd have to look it up, but I believe that being of Asian descent is a race. And I do believe that this was about Shohei Ohtani being racist or being Asian, which makes it racist to me.
Yeah, listen. At the end of the day, he's being completely prejudiced and biased against Shohei Ohtani. I mean, there's just no way around that. Whether you want to gift wrap it in racism or nationalism or however you want to say it, the fact is what he said is not right. And to me, if it was me, I think that there should be some discipline there. But that's just me.
Yep. Tanner Plummer says, Monty, you've met Stephen A. If so, when and where? Well, am I accountable to you now? Yes, I've met Stephen A. Smith. I was a producer on many years ago on Jim Rome's show, The Last Word on Fox Sports Net. We actually are the ones who are responsible for putting him on TV first. I apologize. Swipe a Cam says, people have to realize that most of us have been taught to be anti-non-American in regards to the language barrier and who gets to be successful in America. It's not. It's the America First mentality. I agree with that. Red Heart Norvis says Manny Pacquiao is the face of boxing worldwide. Can speak okay English, but still gets ridiculed with his accent and Filipinism, and many of his words are taken out of context, which is why Shohei Ohtani uses an interpreter.
Yes.
Giggity says, why not apologize by saying, I'm sorry, I effed up. That would mean more than all this explaining. I agree. Swipe a Cam also says it has to do with how baseball in particular and how the game has been marketed. Ohtani is now dealing with a country where the English language is not just the primary language. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
But here's the thing, and this is what I think we also have to talk about. I mean, Stephen A is happy to sit on First Take and talk about how the game isn't marketable, yet we have every single day we've got highlights of Ohtani hitting home runs. So is it not marketable, or is it? Because I see every single day that the game is on SportsCenter, it's on MLB Network, it's everywhere. I mean, you do one simple search on Twitter and you've got Fernando Tatis and the Padres, going ham on the Dodgers to start the season. So I just don't agree that the game is not marketable. Is it slower? Yeah, it's slower than the NFL, sure. That doesn't mean that baseball's in trouble. Like, I think there's this stigma that everybody thinks, oh, well, the game's falling apart. They're gonna go out of business. I got news for you. Baseball's not going anywhere. It's been around. Do people realize that baseball is the oldest sport in the country? Do people get that?
Well, and I think there is still a very strong, passionate love for baseball. If you look at, again, Lopes fan Gabe took his family on a baseball trip. If you look at how full stadiums are again, like, there is a love affair with baseball. And I think when you look at the stars of the game, like Vlad Guerrero Jr. is a Dominican player. He's dark-skinned. He speaks a language that's not English. And I think some of that is why he's not on TV every day in this country. But I think when you have the overwhelming performance that a Shohei Ohtani has put up, I mean, I think that ESPN has no choice but to lead with him.
I mean, listen, look at all the all the heroes of baseball that you can just name drop, just any casual baseball fan. You've got the Manny Ramirez's, you've got the Mariano Rivera's,
look
you've
at
got
Sosa
Albert
and McGuire.
Pujols, Sosa and McGuire.
Like, that's what saved baseball. Sammy Sosa, that line of baseball's been very, very good to me.
Yeah.
Like, of him using a Latin Spanish accent to say that was iconic. Him running out to right field with an American flag. Like, I mean, I think at some point we have to get past English and American first or nobody else. It hurts my heart that we can't allow people like Shohei Ohtani to just live free because he can.
But it's classic America, right? We're happy to watch this guy hit 500-foot home runs. We're happy to watch this guy throw nasty splitters and make the best hitters in the game look stupid, right? We're happy to watch that. We in fact, we love watching it. But as soon as we see him in the dugout talking to his interpreter, all of a sudden he's an Asian descent player and we don't want him.
Because he looks different and he sounds different. And I think that's a problem.
I just think the hypocrisy in that is amazing. I mean, it is classic USA.
Swipe going crazy. Swipe Cam says, but English is a language of power, class, and acceptance in America. Much of the world is forced to learn English because of their inability to have access without English, access to power, education, money, sports, and even relationships. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's very difficult to. I think it's very difficult especially in this country. At working at Yelp, we deal with this every day. Like, there are small business owners in this country who don't speak English and have real fear of it. Like, they won't talk about money. You can think about, a landscaper is a great example. A landscaper doesn't have a bank account. Like,
most of them don't.
They don't have. Think about that. He owns a small business. He's really good at what he does, but he is so insecure that he doesn't have a bank account. Like, that's crazy to me. But then when you think about it, when you think about the plight of the person that is in this country illegally, and we call them aliens, and I think we've targeted, those of Hispanic descent that, we feel like anybody that's Spanish, Mexican, Well, they must be in the country illegally. Like, that's your first reaction to it. And that, to me, that's a problem. Because I got news for you. There are Mexican Americans that are in this country legally. They belong here. And you need to embrace that. And just because somebody is in our country illegally doesn't make them a criminal. It doesn't make them a terrible person. There's a lot of people. Yeah, anyway. Point is, Driftwood says we have to stop with this whole white is wrong narrative, too. Here comes the Monty Show CNN brainwashing. All that should matter is your talent in any sport. Should. Equality feels like oppressing to people who have the table tilted towards them for so long. Giggity says, Driftwood, aren't you too busy driving to be in here texting? Wasn't that your excuse yesterday when you were asked to back up your BS?
Woo!
Ouch.
Woo! Fire in the takes.
Yep. Swipe a Cam says racism is a social structure. I would agree with that.
Man.
Mirzinski says Mike Trout is injured. What does Stephen A. Smith expect him to do? Well, even when Mike Trout is 100%, Mike Trout's not marketable because Mike Trout doesn't want to be marketable.
And that's the issue with Steven's take. I mean, that is the core fundamental issue. He's saying that, oh, well, the reason that you have marketability issues is because Mike Trout is hurt and Ohtani uses an interpreter. When the truth is, if you've watched baseball for any amount of time and you start reading between the lines, Mike Trout is not a marketable guy. Does anybody realize that Mike Trout is a Nike athlete? And the only time you're actually seeing Mike Trout and Nike videos is on his Instagram story?
Do you realize that Bryce Harper who does Bryce Harper endorse? Can anybody, not you, but Can anybody name a Bryce Harper product or something he endorses? I mean, he's not a guy that's out there. I look at Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant has several endorsements that nobody knows about. Joey Gallo has several endorsements that nobody knows about. All three of those guys are friends, lifelong friends. Harper, Bryant, and Gallo, they all grew up together. And they're all, like, that generation doesn't want to be on TV.